in the past, and it's been difficult in the past to get participation. So maybe the virtual setting is just easier for everyone. So we appreciate your participation this morning. I know at least one of you said you're already familiar with Taylor Housing Commission. Others of you identified that you're somewhat new to the process. So the Taylor Housing Commission is a public housing authority in the Metro Detroit area, providing quality, decent, safe, and affordable housing to low-income families. We value our partnerships with our landlords. We know how you guys are what makes our program a success or a failure. So we're always striving to do what we can to make our program better and streamline our processes. And we encourage your input in those processes. If you have questions and concerns after the fact, we encourage you to reach out to us via email. We have a number of landlord resources right from HUD, and a couple that we've put together ourselves. We'd be happy to share them with you. So I'd encourage you to take down Mary's email address and shoot us an email with your questions, your concerns. We'll be happy to share any of the resources that we have with you. So I think the most common concern that I hear from landlords that are unfamiliar with the program is concerns about the HQS inspection, and even colleagues of mine that are involved, that have been involved with the program before, I've shared stories with me about difficulty with the HQS inspections. I believe that if your unit is meeting municipal standards, which are all based on state of Michigan code, which are just federally adopted codes, if your units are already meeting those municipal standards, there really shouldn't be much difficulty in passing an HQS inspection. However, the HQS standard must be maintained at all times. When units fall out of compliance, that's when we have a problem. Some of the things that are not enforced across the board, you'll find some housing authorities that do a better job of enforcing them than others. Taylor is pretty diligent about requiring smoke detectors on each floor, in addition to a smoke detector in each bedroom. Early on, when we first adopted that was kind of a sticking point with some landlords, but really it's cheap insurance for both you and us. We also require GFCI outlets in any location within 6 feet of water, which again is just a state mandate, but some of the municipal inspectors for years were kind of overlooking that. So I really don't think it's an excessive standard, particularly once a landlord is familiar with what's expected. Some of the myths that we hear out there that prevent landlords from, or that give landlords pause about participating in the program, is that they cannot charge the same amount of rent to their HCV tenants as their market rate tenants, which is absolutely false. The only thing that the housing authority has to ensure is that the rent is reasonable. Of course, we have published fair market standards that we can't exceed, but beyond that, we only have to ensure that the rent is reasonable. So if the rent is consistent with other units in the neighborhood, there typically will not be a problem. One of the Section 8 myths out there is that all Section 8 tenants are problem tenants. And again, we disagree with this myth. We think it's completely false. Monique Burns has joined us, and she has a YouTube series on Section 8 renting to Section 8 tenants. Later in the slide, I'll share that information with you. On a later slide, we'll share that information with you. But I recall that one of your videos addressed this pretty well. That if the landlord is doing their job, the Housing Commission is doing their job, you shouldn't have any problems with a Section 8 tenant that you wouldn't have with any other tenant. In fact, just the opposite. Oftentimes, HCV tenants are very long-term tenants. And the last myth that we commonly hear is that it's difficult to evict an HCV tenant, and that couldn't be further from the truth. It's probably far more easy to evict a Section 8 tenant because typically you would have the assistance of the housing authority to do so. Some of the facts about Section 8 that are a benefit to a landlord. Your HCV portion. Yeah, Monique.
How does a housing commission assist a landlord with an eviction? I've never tried that.
So the tenant, a Section 8 tenant is well aware that they have to maintain program rules, as you know. When a Section 8 tenant is alerted by the housing authority that the landlord is evicting you, they have an additional incentive to leave to maintain their status in the program, to maintain good standing with the program. Yeah, Mary said it's not that we are per se helping with the eviction process from a legal standpoint, but we are certainly encouraging our tenant to use their voucher, locate another place, unless of course the eviction is due to actions to the extent that they're not going to have the option of using their voucher somewhere else. Because we don't want to take a tenant that's a tenant that's destroyed your place and pass them on to the next guy for them to destroy his place.
John, what kind of situations in an eviction would what's like the different kinds of evictions that would either cause a tenant to lose their voucher or to keep their voucher? If I were to turn in and say, hey, I'm evicting this tenant, you know, and it doesn't always say it in the court records, but I'm telling you why.
Sure. So first of all, we would hope that the eviction would not be the first time that we would be hearing that a tenant is posing a problem. We would hope that prior to that, we've received some lease violation notices that have already been sent to the tenant. Because at the point that we receive a lease violation, we're going to reach out to the tenant and say, hey, we've been notified by your landlord that you're violating your lease. As you know, that's a violation of our program regulations also. You need to correct that situation. So hopefully by the time that an eviction comes around, this is not the first that the housing authority is being made aware that there's a problem. So if somebody has repeatedly violated the lease, we are typically going to send them a letter letting them know that they've been removed from the program. Of course, they're going to have a hearing. We're going to bring in an outside unbiased hearing officer. And sometimes that decision is upheld, sometimes that decision is overturned. But in either case, the tenant is clearly made aware that violating the lease is a fast track off of the program.
Hey, John, do you ever use us landlords as the unbiased outside hearing officer?
We do not. We have a group of other executive directors from other outside agents, from other public housing authorities. And we will typically do that as a professional courtesy for one another, because we know that way that hearing officer knows the regulations quite well. You know, they've dealt with the same situation. So while they are intentionally impartial, they're not ignorant of the problems that exist when these things go unchecked. But if I can return to this slide that talks about some of the positive aspects of Section 8 facts. And I know that Monique, you've addressed some of these in your videos. The HCV portion of the payment is always made timely. The Taylor Housing Commission, we use electronic deposit. So we use an ACH deposit. Our landlords are typically paid on the second or third business day of the month without interruption. If the tenant is slow in paying their portion of the rent, the landlord notifies us, we notify the tenant that is a program violation, and it's also a lease violation. So we are encouraging the tenant to make their portion of the rent also, to ensure that the landlord is getting their full and complete rent payment in a timely fashion. You'll receive regular inspections, which I'm sure there are some that don't see that as a positive, but from my perspective, I think that is a positive from a landlord's aspect. You can request an annual reasonable rent increase. It gets tested for rent reasonableness, just like a new move-in. But you do have that opportunity every year at the anniversary of that contract. Right. So there are situations where the tenant at some point decides that, you know, a rent increase is not okay with them, and then they may decide to move, but the housing authority does recognize a landlord's prerogative to increase the rent. And we are certainly not opposed to that. And then from a humanitarian perspective, I suppose, you have an opportunity to help a low-income, elderly, disabled, and veteran household, as well as families with children, by providing them with decent, safe, and affordable housing. So I think that the positives of the program from a landlord perspective outweigh the potential negatives. But some of you know that better than I do, or have a better, more accurate perspective of that than I do. Coming back again to, as I mentioned earlier, Monique owns Great Day Property Management. She has actually 2 YouTube channels. The channel that I typically see your videos on, Monique, is your Monique Burns channel. But I did recently notice that you also have the Great Day Property Management channel. But if I'm correct, but I've watched most of her Section 8 Secrets Revealed videos, and they're great information. I encourage you guys to jot her name down and check those videos out.
Thank you. Subscribers are welcome. That's the best thank you for all the information. There's a lot of good information in there. It's basically like it's the material I use to train my staff.
And I know some of the work that you've done to obtain your information, and you've done your homework.
Thank you.
Which I think is what makes your videos good. The workshop that you did with the Oakland County Realtors Association, I know just in that single workshop you did a great deal of research with the team that you brought together to present information that day. So you've done your homework, and your videos demonstrate that you've done so. Thank
you. I do try, and I'm always learning, but you just launched my next one, which is going to be about evictions. I'll make one about that, how that actually goes. I haven't had to evict a whole lot of people with Section 8. And I've probably had close to a couple hundred. maybe not quite that many, but yeah. Yeah, not evictions, I mean tenants.
If a landlord is doing their job and keeping us in the loop, typically it does not have to get to eviction. Tenants are very well aware of the value of holding that certificate, that voucher. So when a tenant's made aware that, hey, you are doing things that put your voucher in jeopardy, they're pretty quick to come on board and change behaviors. So the closer the relationship that we have, the better the relationship that we have with the landlords, the better off we all are. The last portion of this, we'd like to turn this over to Bejoy and Milan to discuss their Bob.ai platform that we've recently adopted. I guess we're getting close to, 9 months on the platform. But we're really encouraging our landlords to look at the options available to them on the Bob.ai platform and participate with that platform, because in the near future we see that there will be a lot of opportunity to streamline our processes with this platform. So which of you gentlemen would like to take that portion?
That would be Bejoy.
Yes, I'll take it. Yes. Hi.
Hello.
So John, can you make me the I will. So I'm sharing my screen. So, this is the Bob.ai platform, and you can see that there are several housing authorities and that have their leads, like the rental leads here. I'll get to that in a minute. So you can see events by other housing authorities if you want to. So if you click on this, for example, you can see the event that Dallas Housing Authority did earlier this week. By the way, we are a Dallas-based technology firm, and our mission is to connect all the landlords, the public housing authorities, and the continuum of care providers, so that there is a unified place where you can see all the leads, all the rental leads that are available to you. And then you can go in and complete the RFTA and the HAP and the affordability check that John mentioned, and the reasonableness check. There are 2 checks involved, right? So when you respond to a voucher, when you're trying to rent to a voucher holder, the government wants to know that that particular family with their annual income, allowances, etc., is able to afford that. That is the first check. And then they want to also know that the rent is reasonable, meaning it is comparable to the market rent. So there are 2 distinct checks involved, and that is done in real time, so that there is no need for you to, the rent negotiation that happens with the case manager goes away. It is done in real time. So essentially, I'm not going to do a full demo, but you can click here in any of these events, like, for example, if you click here, then you would see all this, everything that is available. These are all current right now. Taylor Housing Authority is working on adding it. They will add it very, very quickly. So every single voucher that is available in our platform right away, it's available to you. You can click on schedule showing, and that would take you through the affordability check, and you'd be asked to put in some utility information. Hey, who is paying for? Let me just show you, so that we have a few minutes. So I'm going to just very quickly show that how it works in a test system. I don't want to. Let me quickly show that. Let me log in as a landlord to a demo environment, and then. So you would see. So you would take, let's say you have something in Fort Worth, you would just basically say Fort Worth, and this is where you have the unit. That's all that you care about, right? You don't care about something in Oklahoma City, for example, Sacramento. You don't care about it. And then you click on schedule showing, and then you would put in your, let me put in some rent like $1,000. Let's say it's 2-bedroom, and the property Riverside. Property address. I'm going to take something from, Milan, would you know a Fort Worth zip code?
Yes.
Yep. Just give me, this checks for whether the agency actually works there and things like that. Something like that. Okay, sorry.
So this would be a landlord adding their unit to the system.
Yeah. Just give me a Fort Worth zip code so that I can go through.
You can put 76101.
Okay. Texas 76101.
Yes.
Okay, it's a single family detached, 1 family under 1 roof room. So if you have the URL for the property, so that the several tenants can then see the address and things like that. And then these where the utilities and appliances come in, right? Who is actually doing the heating, cooking, water heating, etc. And then you are really clicking on schedule showing. Underneath, what this is trying to do then is you have given the rent, and you have given the utility information. It goes and looks for how many people who are looking right now can actually afford this unit. So that is the match it's going to do. So when you provide this information, typically in the markets that we serve, you would get about 8 to 10 viable leads right away. So some about 8 to 10 connections would be made, basically saying that there is this $1,000 unit, 2-bedroom unit that's available at this address, and this is how the utilities are. And then if that is the case, how many families that are looking right now can afford this unit? And then that is the multiplier. I mean, if you think about it, there is a bit of cleverness in that, right? Because you have a lot of families that are active vouchers, and we are taking them and showing it to thousands of landlords. There are 25,000 landlords in the platform right now. So 9,000 of them already have at least one unit. 16,000 of them they have no units right now, but they have expressed some interest in seeing it. So a lot of landlords are looking at it. And then for each individual landlord with one individual unit, you are then saying, okay, there are 10 families that can actually afford it. So and then it goes through. So yeah, so this is how they now saying one late, but yeah, so this is how this actually goes through. And then let me quickly show what else you can do. You can generate your RFTA here. All these are all the documents that this particular housing authority Fort Worth needs. The rent responsibility form, you can sign it here. This is the legal US law. You're filling in. Please do ask me questions if you have any questions. Additional amenities, vendor number verification. So this is more detailed information that almost every agency need. And vendor number verification, direct deposit form. This is only needed in most cases if you are a new vendor. And then your additional documents. So this is where you upload. I mean, this is specific to each agency, but the variation is only about 10%. Some of them would need an addendum, some of them wouldn't need, and things like that. But and then you can attach those documents. So it's not any different from applying for a bank loan. Like you would basically upload these documents into an application, an online application, and we provide the same level of encryption and all that. So. And then here is the RFTA. So this would basically get filled with the information that you already provided. And then if the RFTA when you complete it, you would submit it, and then this would go to the client for them to sign it as well. And when the client signs it, it goes into the case manager's queue where he can actually approve it. So that is the process. So when he approves it, that automatically schedules the initial inspection. So we have seen people moving in, like from walking into the door of the landlord to actually moving in within 3 days. I mean, this is not a projection like that. We have seen situations like that, and that's it to a certain extent. Just so that I clarify, like, these large agencies are only doing. Only giving vouchers now in situations of extreme emergencies like violence against women and things like that. So that is one of the reasons why they expedite, but the process supports it. They could not have done it without software within 3 days for sure. So the people are able to complete the entire after process, inspections the next day, and then sign the app within the next day. So yeah, so that is.
I have a question for you. Just something just crossed my mind. So as our landlords, Taylor Housing Commission landlords, begin populating Bob.ai with their available rentals.
So it is the other way, right, John? So what we have to work on now is for you guys to tell us what are the vouchers on the street that you have now as of today. Let's say if you're 15 of them, upload them first, and that is a triggering point, right? So then your landlords, like Monique, for example, would come there and look at the areas that you serve, like, and then say, oh, I have a unit here, and then there is a voucher here that is expiring in 15th of November. So let me see if that is viable for me, and then that is how they get the leads. So they don't actually list properties. The marketing is the other way.
Okay, I
Look
see.
at all the leads. Yeah.
Okay, that answers my question exactly.
Okay, so I'm glad to take any questions from the landlords if you have, so are there any questions? I mean, is it super clear or is it not? Yeah, and I don't know whether any one of you is attending the second event or so. So we just launched these events on the platform on Tuesday. So and then housing authorities have been doing it. So and then to follow up, so let me show you this. So after this event, within a few days, you would be able to continue the conversation by joining the discussion. So you would have our presentation deck here, and the video is being live streamed anyway, and so you would see that as well. So this event itself is getting recorded, and just like these guys have, I'll very briefly play this. So this is the sorry. Yeah, so this is the Dallas event. So you can I'm only showing that as an example. So you have that similar to that. You will have the Taylor event here, and then you would have the deck of this event, just like this. You would have it here, and then more importantly, you would be able to join the discussion. So I know that people are messaging us on Zoom right now. Not every question may get answered, and after we close this Zoom chat, the interface goes away. But this interface does not. So you can join the channel and you can continue the discussion. So it's essentially a mobile app where you download Bob.ai, and then you can stay in touch with all the agencies that you're interested in on a chat platform. So you can post questions, and you can basically like Monique, for example, you have a workshop where you want to share that information with them, you would be able to share that with them, and then other landlords would be able to see that, and the housing authority itself would be able to give their point of view on that, and that sort of thing. So to join the channel of each agency, at the moment, you need at least one unit rented to them. So that is how it works now. So if there is a need for us to create a collective channel where all landlords, all agencies can discuss, that's something we are. John has been giving us a lot of ideas, like a whole bunch of ideas in the last few months that we've been working with them. So if those are the kind of things that you want to execute. So we have software skills. So and we know, and there seems to be a big need for it. Lot of landlords like the participation rate is like 10 times than they have ever had. For all these events, so there is a hunger for this. There is a need for this in the marketplace. That's for sure. Like everything that we have done so far, like attendance rates are very high. The conversations are very robust. So I'll stop there. This is the website, Bob.ai. That's easy to remember. Everybody has a friend named Bob. So yeah.
I would just add the case management feature.
Yeah. John. Yeah, Milan, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can, when you log into Bob, there is a button, chat with your case manager, and you can just select the reason why you're getting in touch with the case manager, and somebody from Taylor will get back to you. So that's another feature that exists in the system that you can use right away. Yeah.
In fact, that is the most widely used service also. Like if you look into let me very quickly show that on the Taylor website, if you don't mind. So if you go to Taylor, you would see a chat with your case manager here. So this is the interface that we have placed there on the Taylor Housing Commission website. So you can start your conversations this way. So all the housing authorities that we are working on, they all have this widget. So this is one gate through which people usually enter. You can definitely go to Bob.ai, download the mobile app and do it. After a few times, you would most likely do it, but this is the gate through which we see a lot of traffic. So people come to the website, they say, I'm a landlord, and then they, of course, these housing authorities do not want everyone to be connected. They want to ensure that when you say a house landlord, you're really a landlord for them. When you say a client, when you say applicant. Yeah. So we do verify that that you are actually a verified user, a landlord that is actually a landlord to jail housing. Yeah. And then you can chat directly with the case manager. Thanks, Melinda. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to bring up?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
So I guess, John, we can do a Q&A session if there are any more questions from the audience.
So, John, I think there are some questions on the chat if you want to.
I'm looking at those right now. I'm addressing one of them. In fact, rather than type it, I'll just address it verbally. So Monique asks, are there other PHAs in the Metro Detroit area that are also using this platform? And the answer to that question is not at this time. The other PHAs are outside of the Metro Detroit area. What do you have? You have Dallas,
Fort Worth, we have Sacramento, Oklahoma. Yeah, it's a growing platform.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They're growing quicker in the South than they are here, particularly the Dallas area. And maybe that's because you're based there.
Yes, we are based here. Yes. And we are signing up Houston, so we are. Yeah.
What other general questions do any of you have?
So yeah.
I guess if I don't have a Taylor housing tenant at the moment, but if I were to have a house come for rent, I can't post it on there because I don't have anybody with Taylor yet.
No, you can. The most important message, if from our point of view, even if you don't remember anything else, the most important message is you can look
Okay.
at Taylor, you can look at Dallas, you can look at Fort Worth. If a house comes across there, then you don't need the relationship. No, you are a brand new landlord. That what you have is a unit that is affordable to a family that Taylor serves or Fort Worth serves or Dallas serves. Then you can go to them with that RFTA that has both past affordability and comparability checks. That's a compelling value proposition, right? Then there is no reason for them to reject your RFTA or go back and forth, and you're going to start doing business right away.
So if a tenant, I get a lot of calls from tenants and I don't have any houses available at the moment, I tell them to go on Bob.ai and look. I guess I'm confused how like the tenant finds the house then.
Yeah, great question, Monique. I mean, right at the moment, like as it stands today, we are not really supporting that.
Okay.
Because that very, very quickly changed. Because when we started this, our idea was, or even now, our idea is that, hey, let's only put valid only when there is a valid voucher that is expiring in 90 days. Let's only put that in the platform so that landlords get only viable leads. If there is a lead, and if you fill in that information, and if it's affordable, and software makes a connection with the client, and it's certain that the client will show up for the showing, and then that's a viable lead. But we are getting this need that a lot of people don't have a voucher, but they intend to get a voucher after they find the house. So that is there in all the markets that we serve. So we are going to have one set of, let me very quickly share, explain that a bit more. So right now, all of them are, I'm going to share again. All these leads are active vouchers, right? Let's look at it once more. So this is 6185. That's they want to live in Oklahoma City. It's a 1-bedroom. It's expiring on the 14th of December.
Okay.
Right. This is an actual active voucher. Everything here would be within the 90 days. So this is all active vouchers. So our plan is, if you, Monique, I mean, the question that you asked, like if I have a client who wants to find a unit, then we are basically going to say, okay, give them an option where they say, oh, I have no voucher now, but I am interested in looking for a unit. So they would say that, oh, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom unit here in Metro Detroit area. And then they would say, my budget is going to be like, I'm looking at something like less than 1,200. And then system would say, okay, oh, this is what the rent is. We expect this to be the utilities. So this is going to come under that budget. And then that kind of a tool does not exist right now, right? There is no marketplace tool where you can say, where it basically acts like a virtual realtor, right? And I don't want to go too much in that direction, but I was just answering your question.
Hey, I saw a question that we missed earlier in the chat. Madonna was expressing one of her concerns that the ACH payment is a single ACH deposit to a landlord's bank account. So if that landlord has multiple tenants with the Taylor Housing Commission, they get a single payment. And she expressed that sometimes that was difficult to delineate what portion of money is for which person. And the answer to that is twofold. So every time an ACH is generated, email is also generated to the landlord, to whomever we have listed as the current email contact. That's where the issue sometimes comes in. But an email is auto-generated that tells them the breakdown of which tenants, which portion of the payment was for which tenant. And then the second method of identifying that is we have a portal from our website that landlords can register for, that they can get that information for each month historically. So when we are kept up to date with an email address from the property management group or the landlord or whomever, that should never be an issue.
John, this is Madonna. I just responded via text, but I realized I could just hit my unmute button. Could you walk us through setting up a portal? Because I don't have a portal, didn't know anything about it, and you could have an old email address on us. So.
Absolutely, and that's what happens, particularly with management companies where there are, a number of employees, and there's oftentimes some turnover. So the person who's the right contact to get the email today isn't necessarily the right contact to get the email next month. So keeping us abreast of that is important. But if you reach out to us via email, and I've listed Mary's email address a couple of times, but it's Mary C, MARYC @taylorhousing.org. And if you drop Mary an email and just ask her to send you the form to register for the landlord portal, I see we just posted the email address again for Mary.
Okay, great. I wrote that down as well. I'll take care
And
of that.
we will shoot you that form. It's a very, very simple process. The landlords that use it love it. Yeah, you can go back to it tracks all the way back to 2015 when we started using this particular software platform.
I'm still confused. I feel dumb here. So if I go onto Bob.ai and I fill out the RFTA, which is awesome, I don't ever have to do that again. That'd be great. And it's in the system, and I'm this person on the first row with this one bedroom, but the tenants can't go in here to say, oh, I want that one. Who's the one that's scheduling the showing? I am. I pop on, schedule the showing, and then the pool of people with vouchers shows up. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, we are to be blamed, right? So Yeah, so I think it is pretty simple once you start doing it once. So you are, let's say you are someone who is interested in something in Oklahoma City or Dallas or something, and you have a unit here in Dallas, you know that, and then that is when you would click on schedule showing, and
Who would click on it?
and you are the landlord. You only see
Okay.
this if you are a landlord. So
Okay.
you are basically trying to schedule showing with everyone. You have a unit here. Your intent is the email that you get would explain all this. Now, once you register as a landlord, you would start getting emails every Monday saying that, hey, this many leads are available for you. And then that would explain to you, this is what you would do. And then you would schedule a showing. The only thing that I was trying to explain is when you schedule a showing, you're providing some information, right? You have to be a landlord to do that. And then you are putting your utility information. Based on that utility and rent, several families might be able to afford it, right? Your unit, it's not just one family with this particular voucher who can afford it. So there are 5 families in the Taylor housing area that can afford it. And then all of them would get an email which says, hey, Monique has this unit here, and this is the address. You can get in touch with her this way. So we don't charge anything because the housing authority pays us. So everything is paid for both by the client and the landlord by the housing authority. So we are just trying to make that match.
I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah, so there is a multiplier, right? Because you see a whole bunch of leads that you may have something in Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Sacramento in California. Who knows? And it's very easy for you to search here. You search very easily, and then you see, oh, this is where I have a unit. And if you don't have a unit, then you say that, okay, I put Denver here and I don't have a unit, then you can invite your PHA so that that is the way for us to grow. But that's the essential idea. So if you invite your PHA, it would basically come back and say Denver, and then it would show you all the Denver Housing Authority and all that. And you can invite them. If you're already working with them, you can invite them, and they can. And if they join the platform, then you can start seeing their leads and that sort of thing.
Sorry, are you saying this is good for people that are porting?
This is good for people who are porting. At the moment, this is only good for landlords. This is not good for a client to get a voucher. So it does not serve that purpose right now. I understand what you're saying. You are porting from here to Denver. You actually want to look for a unit in Denver, and then you want to, yeah. So we will, as I said, we will start enabling that very soon. But as it stands now, this is only for this is primarily useful for the landlords. So landlords can see all the leads that are active. They already have the voucher, no questions asked. I mean, they have the voucher, it's a certain thing. So, and they are desperately looking for the unit. And if you reach out to them, it's very likely that they would show up for the showing. And then we are adding a virtual showing option, like where you can, because we also have continuum of care providers now on the platform. So there is a lot of interest in people not coming over. They want to do it over video. So you can do that as well. So that so landlords can get a lot of leads, and you can do a lot of virtual showings. And then like when something is viable, you can move quickly.
So it's like putting it on Zillow, and then but the Zillow is just specifically for that housing commission. And then people within that housing commission can go, oh, I want that one. And then
but in
I would
Zillow,
get an
you
email
cannot.
from.
There are 2 problems in this industry, right? Because you need to know whether a particular family can afford your rent, right? That's happenstance, right? So someone walks into it. Let's say there are 2 people with Taylor Housing Commission voucher, Linda and Mike. Linda walks in and she gives you her voucher, and then you say your rent is this. That may not be affordable to Linda, but Mike is behind in the line. It may be affordable to him, right? So that you know what I'm trying to say, right? So that's entirely information that you don't have, and that is what we are feeling. Hey, this is my rent, and how many people can afford it? Finding that, answering that question, and making that connection.
That's cool. I made a whole video on how to figure out when a person with Section 8 calls and they say, hey, I've got a voucher. And you say, well, how much is your voucher for? And they're like $1,000 and they've only got 2 kids. You're like, what? No, it's not. I made a video of how to sort through that problem on the phone so you don't go show the house or send a video or whatever to somebody who could never afford it. So this is cool. That was a little self-plug.
So just so
that you did that, it solves that problem.
It solves the problem, and just so you know how what goes into the affordability calculation, it is people with expertise like John who are coming up with that calculation, but it is actually not very simple. You know, I'm new to this industry. I found it intimidating to actually do this arithmetic to calculate it. I mean, I'm sure for PHA people, people with experience in that, it's obvious to them. I'll just very quickly show you from the landlords, from the client's perspective. So these are all the showings. This is a client now, like somebody with a voucher. And let's say they look at this. This is a massive calculation. You know, like what is the utility element, what the rent to owner, what is the unity. So they see all of this before they even. They're basically interested in these things, right? Tenant portion and utility reimbursement. So they see this before they decide to actually come and see your unit. Can I actually, hopefully, can I actually afford it? So when you say that, hey, when this connection is made, like, you know, you put in your rent and utility information, and then 10 clients are seeing it. So those 10 clients are getting all this information. Hey, what is my portion of the rent? What is the utility reimbursement I'm going to get? That's what they care about. But I was just trying to show you what steps the calculation has to go through if you want to determine this. And if you want to put a person there, she's going to find it very difficult to learn this. I mean, it's going to take 2 weeks to actually learn the Excel spreadsheet that's the calculation. I mean, if you want to do it, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, we also come at it from a mission point of view, like, you know, we provide information to these clients that they can see. We can give them about 5 to 10 showings, and we can also give them all the information. What is your portion of the rent? What is your utility reimbursement and all that? What is the area that you are in? What is the census tract? Like all that. And hopefully, over time, people, when they have a lot of choices, they would make the right decisions. They would move into the right areas where they can afford it and all that. I mean, that's the mission of the company. So, you know. So Milan, you want to add anything?
No, I think that's it.
Any of the other landlord participants have questions for Taylor Housing or for Bob.ai? I hope you've jotted down Mary's email address. Some of you probably already have our email addresses. I recognize some of you as current landlords of their program. But again, we appreciate your participation. We're happy to help answer any of your questions. Landlords that are taking the kind of initiative that you've taken this morning are the kind of landlords that we want to work with. So we look forward to hearing from hopefully all of you, and we look forward to being partners with you in the near future in providing affordable housing.
So our video would be placed here, and then the deck also, John, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the deck would be here as well. And then you would have an option to join the discussion, continue the discussion on the channel that John has with all the landlords, like not just the participants here, but everyone, so
Sure.
that everyone can see the deck, and, you know, people who have not participated today can also see this. And it's a mobile app. We hope you guys would continue asking questions there. And of course, the email serves the purpose of doing a one-to-one, like a single thread where you can get specific information about your particular problem. But if you want to discuss an idea that is applicable to a lot of people, ask a question that is applicable to a lot of people, please do participate in the channel where we can, I mean, not us like John and his management team can actually answer those questions.
And our team does monitor those daily, so multiple times a day, in fact. So that certainly is a viable link to chat with us.
Okay, so this will get posted fairly quickly with the link to their channel.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Look
You,
forward to talking to you guys again in the future. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
bye, thank you.